It's been more than 6 months since I started using the iPhone 15 Pro Max as my main phone. I was excited for new hardware and features, but on the first day I was already getting a bit skeptical about the whole hype. These are 3 different generations of iPhone Pro Max. Which one do you think is the 15? It's this one. At the first look you can only tell by the titanium body. What about now? Which one is 15? Alright, this one is 13, this one is 14, and this is the 15. You won't be able to tell even when they are turned on. Although I must say 13 has a rather less vibrant display compared to the other two. 15 has a slightly larger display as it stretches to the corners, but that is barely noticeable as well. And this is how they look from back. If you are iPhone lineup expert, it won't be an issue for you to tell the different generation apart by the colors, but I think most of people won't be able to tell. One of the biggest differences is the titanium body, which means the phone should be lighter than the aluminum predecessor, so let's compare their weights. When holding in hand, the 15 is noticeably lighter than the other two phones. 13 was my first iPhone coming from Samsung, and I couldn't believe how heavy it was. 13 is 251 grams. 14 is 252 grams. And 15 is 235 grams. This doesn't seem like a huge difference at all, but when you build your muscle memory for a few years of using the 13 or 14, the 15 grams lighter phone feels like it's half the weight. Also, one thing about the titanium body, there actually isn't that much titanium in it. The main inner chassis is made of aluminum and bonded with titanium outer shell. If you want to learn more, I recommend watching iPhone 15 Pro Max Teardown on Jerry Rig Everything channel. I'll post a link in description. Okay, let's dive into the cameras and photo and video capabilities. Improved videos were the main reason I was excited to upgrade to the 15, as it looked very good on paper. The 15 Pro Max has a new camera layout with different specifications. There is an ultra-wide 13mm lens, 48mm telephoto, and 24mm main camera with 48 megapixels. Telephoto has a new prism design, and main camera uses second-generation sensor shift technology. The iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max are the only phones that can record spatial videos. They are also the only models that can record video in Apple ProRes Log. I have to admit, I used it only once on my 15 though. First of all, you have to record to external media. Secondly, the files are crazy large, around 5 gigabytes per minute. The third thing is that the quality isn't that much better, as it's still limited by the phone hardware. The footage has way more information, but that is only good if you want to spend time and add a specific custom look to your videos and color grade them. Personally, if I really need to shoot in log, I just grab my mirrorless camera. So the log capability isn't really a deal breaker for me, but I understand some users will be excited about it. One of the things I never liked about iPhones was that the cameras were not flush with the phone and its back wasn't flat, even though this is standard for most of the smartphones today. Well, the 15 is a bit worse than 14 as the cameras are sticking out even more. Look how it wobbles on the table. I built this simple rig to test the 3 phones all at once, side by side with the same settings. Alright, time for a real-world test. These are footages from the main cameras. As you can see, there isn't much difference there. Some of the details might be lost after the YouTube compression, but I can tell you they all look very, very similar. 13's footage looks a little more sharper than the other two. And these are from the zoom cameras. Since 15 has a larger focal length on the zoom lens, its footage has to be digitally zoomed from the main lens. You can see the quality is worse, which makes sense. The same happens when you use the 2x zoom on the phone. It still uses the main camera and is zoomed digitally. Again, I think the 13's footage probably looks the best. Now this is another comparison, this time using the 5x zoom lens on the 15. You see how closer you can zoom in without losing quality? The 15 is a winner here. 13 quality is good, but I would say it lost against both in these light conditions. And lastly, the wide camera. This is the one I use the least, mostly just for walkthrough videos for my clients. 15's footage looks the best, no doubt about it, but still not 2 generations better. Slow motion is very similar too for all of them. I didn't really see any difference other than slightly different bit rate. And zoom lens slow motion isn't anything special in neither of these phones. The quality isn't there yet. So how will the new phone compare in low light? I didn't adjust the EV value at all. These are default camera settings. You can see 14 and 15 are a bit darker. 13's footage looks spot on. Quality-wise, they're very similar. When using the zoom lens on the older phones, the 13 wins over 14. The 15's footage is scaled from the main camera, and considering that fact, the quality isn't bad. If for some reason you like to use your phone for action videos, 14 and 15 both have action camera mode. The stabilized video has lower resolution to be able to compensate for the stabilization. 13 Pro Max doesn't have any action mode, and you can see it's a bit more bouncy under the same conditions, but could be easily stabilized in post. I use the phone mainly for videos now, but of course I have to compare the photos too. And I know this won't be a surprise now when I say they all deliver similar performance. Even when I magnify the photos, I would not be able to tell which comes from which phone. And this is a comparison of photos shot in portrait mode. This is actually very interesting, as I thought this was the key feature of the 15th generation, and I found out my 13 has been capable of this the whole time. This is from the 15. Okay, pretty cool. Not sure if I will actually use it, but I like to have it as option. But now look at this. This is the same feature on the 13 Pro Max, and I must say it looks even better than on the 15. And this one is from 14. Again, no noticeable difference. In low light, the 15 makes somewhat better photos. If you look at the top of the trees, the other phones are getting less contrast and higher amount of blur. However, overall very similar performance. The zoom lens on the 15 wins as the detail is just amazing. Although you can see it has the most halo around the building. The last thing I wanted to see just for fun was the dynamic range. These were taken with exposure compensation all the way down and then adjusted in post. I have to say I was a bit disappointed finding out that the most expensive iPhone 15 Pro Max isn't outperforming its predecessors. I understand there must have been a significant amount of work and development behind the scene, and the 15 is internally better than older models. However, for in regular daily use, it's not that appreciable. Okay, let's see what else is new. The action button at first seemed like something special, but I'm not really excited about it. You can program it to do many things like open specific app or flashlight, but I still use it as a do not disturb button. There are issues with this design though. Many times when I take the phone out of my pocket, it is in do not disturb mode. It's just too easy to activate it just carrying the phone in pocket. This would never happen with the switch that was on previous models. That's why I prefer the old design over the action button. Same as 14th generation, the 15 Pro Max already utilizes electronic SIM card. You can have 2 active numbers and 8 stored ones in total. On the other hand, you can still use physical SIM card in the 13 Pro Max, which could be also beneficial for someone who travels a lot. It's worth mentioning that with the recent release of the Apple Vision Pro, you can now record spatial videos, and this function is only available for the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max phones. If you're one of the lucky owners of these goggles, the 15th generation is the obvious choice. 15 Pro Max is equipped with the new A17 Pro chip, which seems to be way faster on paper. Unfortunately, I didn't really see any difference. I don't play games on my phone or use any apps with high loads. After I migrated everything from the 13, using the new phone just felt the same. I wouldn't know I was using the 15 Pro Max instead of 13 Pro Max. And that, I think, is a real issue and pretty disappointing. I upgraded to a way more expensive phone, but wouldn't even notice. One thing was different though, and it wasn't a good one. The iPhone 15 was overheating. Sometimes it was so hot it was hard to touch the display and the phone started to lag a little. This seems to be solved now after several software updates. I didn't run any benchmarks before and after, but I expect the temperature issue was solved by underclocking the processor or lowering down overall performance, which is a shame. Okay, and finally, the most substantial change for the iPhone 15 lineup, and probably one of the biggest changes in iPhone's history, the USB-C. Using a different port rather than Lightning was surprising, and I was excited I would be able to use it with all my existing cables, and it's not just about charging. iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max are equipped with USB-C 3.2, which could mean 10 gigabits per second. That is like 20 times faster than Lightning on the old phones. I tried to test the speed by transferring the same exact files from 15 and 13. The files were around 3.7 gigabytes total. It took about 2 minutes 36 seconds to transfer from 13 to the PC. Transferring from 15 took only 25 seconds. So it wasn't 20 times faster, but only about 6 times. Still a huge improvement. It's important to note that this test was done through the fast USB 3.2 cable. iPhone 15 comes with white charging cable, but it's only slow USB 2.0 standard, so you won't achieve these speeds with the cable that is in the box. As stated before, you can now record in Apple ProRes log on the iPhone 15. It's only possible to record into external storage though. When I got the phone, I bought this little gadget thinking it would just record to SD card, but it doesn't meet the transfer speed standards. After the latest update, the camera app will at least tell you it's not fast enough and you won't end up with unusable footage. But for example, this ancient USB flash drive works perfectly. It's only 32 gigabytes, and you can see it could only store an estimated 2 minutes of 4K log footage. Switching to USB-C was a huge step for Apple, and I hope such progress will continue in the future. We might finally see an iPhone with SD card slot instead of paying $400 for extra internal storage. Let me summarize the reasons to get the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Record and log, record to external devices, transfer the media from the phone way faster, and use hundreds of USB-C accessories. Record spatial videos for Apple Vision Pro. Body is a little bit lighter since it's using titanium frame, or you just have to have the latest iPhone. And that's basically it. As you can see, there isn't that much new. It looks like iPhone 13 Pro Max was way ahead for its time. It still offers great performance, gorgeous display, and a very capable camera system. But if you're a power user who wants the absolute latest and greatest, the iPhone 15 Pro Max takes the crown. It's an excellent phone with the most up-to-date technology you can get today. And before you go, hit that subscribe button and smash that like button if you enjoyed the video. And don't forget to check out my other videos. Thanks for watching.